Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Cozy Chat, where you can learn English in a fun and natural way. I am Maria, and this is a coffee chat episode. And I have decided to talk to you all about something that happened last week. I was debating. Debating means deciding whether or not to do something. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to share what I am going to share with you now. And I decided that I wanted to. It is something a little bit more personal, but at the same time, I think that it's good to share these kinds of stories with others, not only just to share the story, but to also make others think when they are in similar situations in the future. Also, on this podcast, I do also want to talk about more personal things and not just general topics, because sometimes personal experiences are more interesting and engaging. And when you're learning a language and listening to a podcast, such as this one, to get listening practice, it's also very good if the topic you're listening to is interesting, because then you don't really feel like you are studying. You are simply listening to an interesting story in English, which is the language you're trying to learn. So here we go. About 2 weeks ago, one of my daughters got sick, and she was given an antibiotic to get better from the sickness that she had. And she got sick with something that's called impetigo. I had never heard of this before, but it is a sickness where you get kind of these small wounds or sores all over your body, and they don't get better. And it is caused by a bacteria. So she had to take an antibiotic medicine to get better. And she got better, and everything was fine with her. But then my other daughter got sick, and she also had something similar to her sister, but it also looked very different. We didn't know what it was for several days. We took her to the doctor, and the doctor thought it was a virus that just needed to pass. So we were just waiting for this to get better. And after several days, we went back to the doctor because she was getting worse. Her body was turning red, and she was itching. She was itching all over, and she was very uncomfortable. So we went back to the doctor because we knew that something was not right. And the doctor was about to give us an antibiotic in pills, but then she said, I'm actually really not sure what this is, and I think it's better that you go to the hospital to have them give her a blood test and to make sure that this is nothing more serious. So we did that. We went to the hospital and they gave her a blood test, and many doctors came in and looked at her, and many were unsure also what she had. And this was really scary to me to have doctors not be sure of what was wrong. But in the end, she had a bacterial infection which spread to her blood, and that was causing her whole body to turn red and itch. So we had to stay at the hospital, and they gave her antibiotics in her vein so that it would go to her blood. And she slowly started getting better. Now, that is one part of the story. Then we were talking to the doctor, and I told the doctor that my daughter was still itching a lot. My daughter would itch all over, and she was very uncomfortable. So the doctor said, okay, we will give her some medicine, a syrup, for her itching to help her to stop itching, an antihistamine. So I said, okay, great. And they came in and gave me the medicine to give to her. And I gave it to her. And then the doctor came back in our room and said, we have a problem. There are two different kinds of medicine that help itching. It's the same kind of medicine, but different concentrations. One is much, much stronger than the other one. And we wanted to give her the medicine that was not as strong because my daughter is small. She's a child. And they gave her the very, very strong version of this medicine. And I asked, how much stronger is the medicine that you gave to her? And she said, the kind we gave is 10 times stronger than the one we wanted to give her. And that is right for her. Now, I think we all know that taking too much medicine can be very dangerous. So I was immediately very scared because at this point also, my daughter started to be very drowsy, tired, kind of her eyes were like this. And I could tell that this medicine was having a big effect on her. And I said, what could happen to her from taking way too much of this medicine? And she said she could have problems with her heart. Her heart could race, and that's not good. Or she could have alterations, a strange heartbeat, also not good. And that she could become very, very tired. So I was very scared and very upset that this happened. And then the doctor told me that we had to give her something that is called activated charcoal, which I had also never heard of. And she said she has to take activated charcoal in order to not allow the medicine to take effect. So I wasn't sure exactly what that was at first, but then they came in our room with all of these syringes that were full of this black, thick liquid. And they told me she has to drink all of this. And I have the picture here, but I think in the picture you can't tell how big. These were really big syringes, and it was full of this thick black liquid. It looked like tar, which is something that they pave roads with. It looked like that. And they told me that this activated charcoal helps to detoxify the body. So this is used when there is a drug overdose, like there was in our case. An overdose is when someone takes too much medicine. So this activated charcoal is used when there is an overdose, or if there is poison involved, if someone gets poisoned in some way, the activated charcoal helps to detoxify the body. And I know these are all big words, and they're not very common words, but they're just part of the story. So she had to drink all of this liquid, and she was barely awake when I was making her drink this. She wasn't talking. She was not acting like herself, because if she was really awake, she would have not drank this stuff, because I know it tasted so bad. And then they were doing mini heart checks to make sure that her heart was beating correctly and that there were no problems. During this time, there were lots of doctors and nurses with us, and everyone was very concerned about the situation. And I don't know if I can explain this in a way that really shows how scary it was. This was extremely scary because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know. And it was completely out of my hands. It was out of my control. So She ended up being fine. She did not remember drinking this black liquid. She ended up feeling okay. And also, the next day, she felt much better and was able to come home from the hospital. So the other medicine that they gave her for the real sickness that she had worked, and we were able to come home. Now, I really wanted to share this story because it made me realize several things. One big one was, especially when you are in a hospital, your whole life can depend on the medicine that they give you. Sometimes we don't know exactly what we're taking because it's not us at home with the medicine box, and it's not us measuring it out and taking it. It's all about what the nurses are giving to us. So if they make any mistake, our health can really be in trouble. Now, I have so much respect for nurses and doctors and healthcare professionals because they are there every day to help the health of others. But one thing about their job is if they make any mistake, they can really hurt someone. They could kill someone. I hate to say it, but this thought crossed my mind when we were in the hospital. I thought, is my daughter going to die because the nurse made an error? It's really scary. If I make a mistake in my job, nobody gets hurt. Nobody's health is affected. But for nurses and doctors, that is true. They could really hurt someone. And that's not easy for them. They have lots and lots of responsibility. And in the end, they're humans. And all humans make mistakes. Later, we talked to the doctors and the nurses about what happened and why this happened. And they told us that the doctor only verbally told the nurse what medicine to give her. It was never written down. It was never entered into a computer. And if it were entered into a computer first, this wouldn't have happened because the computer shows that there are two medicines and that they are different, and it would have shown only the one that she needs to take. But again, everyone makes mistakes, and this just happened to be a big mistake which was made, which could have really affected the health of my daughter. And we are very, very lucky that nothing happened. Since this happened last week, I have told several people about what happened. And many people have told me stories of similar things happening to their friends or family when they were in the hospital. For example, one person told me that they tried to give heart medicine to her grandfather who did not need heart medicine. That would have been bad. And there were a lot of other cases like this, and people have said, you just really need to make sure that you know exactly what is being given to them. And I know that's not always easy because we always trust in the doctors and the nurses, and we don't know exactly how all of it works since we're not them. We're not nurses or doctors. But I do think it's very good to ask lots of questions and just really make sure the best that you can that the right medicine is being given. Now, today's episode was very different as I just explained this scary experience that happened at the hospital. But again, I thought it is a good thing to share with others, just to be aware of things that can happen. So thank you all so much for listening. I hope you all stay very safe and healthy. And I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. Bye.